Have you ever wondered if you've lived before or will live again? Are you curious about what happens to your soul after you die? Or maybe you've met someone you're sure you've known before. Or maybe you're just wondering if you have talents, skills, and experiences from a prior life that could help you now. Hi, I'm Brownell Landrum, author of the upcoming We Meet Again trilogy, and I'd like to welcome you to the Life is a Trip podcast. Following story, Little Girl Dreams, was written and recorded by Persephone Vandegrift. Keen to explore the idea of past lives via dreams, Persephone turned to her constant source of inspiration, ancient history and mythology. The what-if question behind the story was, if children dream of past lives, what might one of them look like?
Little girl dreams. She dreams she is sitting on a tripod, under the eyes of Apollo, watching the bodies of pilgrims snake up the path toward her. If she squints, she can see them shuffling side to side, heads down, edging closer to her temple with bags of grain and other goods balanced on their backs. Cradled in juvenile arms, young lambs remain eerily quiet, perhaps sensing their death is upon them. She slowly stirs her fingers around the bowl of freshly picked laurel leaves, waiting for the fattest ones to give themselves up. She raises the first one to her lips. Its musky bitterness bursts across her tongue as the priests chant and release the vapors below. She takes a deep breath. It sticks in her lungs as the thick curtain of smoke rises and stings her eyes. The oldest priest, with skin as taut as a reptile's, turns his pallid face to her. His glassy eyes, filled with years of tediousness, scrutinize the indifference in hers. He leans in close, his voice hissing roughly in her ear. Pythia, we must eat. So tell them their lands will be fertile, tell them their marriage beds will be fruitful, and tell them that their wars will be victorious in the eyes of the gods. Gods? What do they know? Breathe. First in line is a young boy. His father, anxious from the journey, shifts impatiently behind him. The boy's curly red hair frames his downcast eyes, pinched in grief. The color of his hair reminds the Pythia of the late afternoons when she and her husband would watch the flaming sun disappear into the sea. A lifetime ago, she sighs, in silent remorse, while the boy's hands shake as he clings to the lamb, now nuzzling its nose into his neck. Poor boy. To separate them would tear his heart apart. Breathe. Certain sacrifices we must keep. Your fields will still be bountiful. Pythia exhales her decision into the disdained face of the priest and smiles as the boy's eyes light up in relief. In gratitude, he drops his prized skinning knife into the donation bowl. He pauses, but does not look up at her, nor would she want him to. Breathe. The vapors no longer make her cough. It has been 2 years since she took the Pythia's seat after spending 20 learning the ways. Her grief had passed, but the memories still remained. Both husband and daughter washed up on the beach, tiny grains of sand sparkling like diamonds on their swollen faces. Next. A middle-aged man waddles up, his face and hands scarred by a recent fire. He sets a sack of fruit in front of the priests. His wife, her pendulous belly full of life, wraps a nervous arm around his elbow. Pythia leans forward, fixes her eyes on them both. Eat your strife like medicine. The more you take, the stronger you will be. New life will bring new hope. Next. A wealthy father drops a heavy bag of coin into the bowl. His daughter, dressed for an unhappy marriage, hovers at the side of her aging groom. Pythia sees the distraught lump suspended in the young woman's throat. She wishes she could tell her the truth, that her husband will be dead soon and her unborn daughter will become a beloved queen. But Apollo would burn the words in her mouth. So she lies. Sleep with your heads in the north, and your dreams will become one. Breathe. A little girl limps forward now, her foot mangled by a difficult birth. As she lifts her desperate eyes to the priests, Pythia sees they are heavy, too heavy for one so young, and bloated with sadness and the shame of her parents. Through the vapors, Pythia notes the mother's weathered fingers digging into the girl's uneven shoulders, ready to push her away, or to her death. But before Pythia can speak, a priest steps forward, his lips fixed in a contrite grin. He asks if this is a life they want for the girl, thinking of all the ones they have taken in already. Pythia knows refusing the girl means she would abandon on the journey home, and the burden of her protection would fall on the gods to sort out. Sometimes it would be left to men. Pythia uncurls a knotted finger to motion the girl closer. Such dedication can be found in the most unlikely places. She nods to the chagrined priest. The girl's mother sighs in relief and gives the girl a gentle push. There are no emotional goodbyes here, as the bag of grain thuds to the floor. Pythia watches the girl shuffle away in tears. The girl is the same height as her daughter, Aela, who loved the sea and one day strayed out too far. A wave knocked her over. Her father jumped in to save her. Both were caught in the undertow. Breathe. But Pythia remembers the pain shooting through her shoulders as they held her back from the funeral pyre. Breathe. Pythia wishes she could sleep, but today the line is very long. Her body burns and twitches in pain. The priest, seeing the donation bowl is full and the wall stacked high with grain, turned to her and chime that there is still one more. There always is. Breathe. The setting sun has turned the smoky veil a dusky red. Through it, Pythia sees the approaching man's robes dripping with ill-gained wealth. She doesn't need the vapors to smell his deceit. She doesn't need a laurel leaf to see the piles of destruction that will be left in his wake. The priests see it too, in the faces of the miserable concubines behind him, in the jewels on his fingers, and the heavy ropes of gold around his neck and wrists. For the first time today, Pythia unpins her legs and slips down from the tripod. The numbness surges from her feet and makes her heart race. Her legs start to buckle, but these priests, these warring men, must have it their way. She raises her finger. It shakes. She points it like a weapon, but they only see it as a wand. Enemy ships will disappear into the sea. The strength of your people will see you thrive in victory. She frowns as the rattle of coins spilling into the bowl ring louder than the voice of Apollo still dictating in her head. Apollo, her keeper. Apollo, her lover. Sometimes she thinks he pities her, so young and beautiful, shutting herself away like this. She has no other choice. Better to be a god's concubine than a wealthy king's wife. Breathe. No, but there are just some things that little girls should never dream.
Persephone and the Whole Life is a Trip group thank you for listening to her story. Persephone Vandegrift is a screenwriter, filmmaker, and children's book author in Southern Oregon. Her feature screenplay set in Scotland, The Water King, which she co-wrote with its director Shannon Van Matra, is currently in development. Her children's book, Rosehip, A Very Curious Fairy, is available on Amazon. She can be reached for creative purposes at sephvee7@gmail.com. That's SEPHVEE7@gmail.com. Hi, this is Brownell. For more of these transcendental tales, please join the Life is a Trip group on Facebook and check out my amusing and enlightening story entitled The End, which you can find on my website, brownelllandrum.com. That's BROWNELLLANDRUM.com. And please look for my upcoming novel trilogy entitled We Meet Again. It's a story about a famous couple reincarnated today to help solve a centuries-old mystery that will change the world.